In alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Today we're going to discuss the lawful and the unlawful when it comes to the slaughter of animals. And there's a big question that many Muslims ask. Sister Layla, can we eat meat that has not been slaughtered with the name of Allah on it? That's a big question, and the answer is so clear. The answer is so easy. But people don't read the Quran for what it says. Instead, they put you. That's how Shaitan works. Shaitan makes you see what you want to see. Shaitan makes you believe what you want to believe. And that's why you need the hadiths too. Because the hadiths are explanations of the Quran. There's no need to argue about it. What did the Prophet say about this? What did the companions say? And there's many, many, many hadiths addressing that. Okay? Since people allow their personal jinns to cause them to see what they want to see. So we're going to answer that question today from the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. I'm going to give you the understanding of the companions when it comes to eating meat that was slaughtered without the name of Allah being mentioned on it. These are the opinions of the companions, not some man today. And as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no one understands this religion better than he and his companions. And as Allah himself says, the best of this nation in piety and faith and understanding are those companions. Okay, so we're gonna put to rest this question about slaughter. But let's start off. When it comes to animals, the animals that are lawful for us to kill to eat fall in two categories, either domestic animals or wild animals. And we already went over that, the lawful animals and unlawful animals. But when it comes to slaughter too, there are certain rules of regulations that may apply to a domestic animal that may not apply to a wild animal. Okay, a domesticated animal is an animal that's been tamed. These are your cattle, your animals that fall in the category of cattle, such as camels, cows, goats, sheep, ram, and also poultry, which are chickens and birds. These are animals that are normally raised on a farm, or they're raised inside the home. You tame them and raise them to eat and make use of. The untamed animals are the wild animals. You know, those are the animals that you have to go out and hunt, such as deer, antelope, okay? And those cats are getting started. They always get started when I teach. Those are the animals that we have to go out to hunt. And in order for those animals to become lawful for us to eat, understand every nation had their laws of fiqh. Every late nation had their rules that were assigned to them. The Christians had their fiqh regulations. The Jews had their fiqh regulations. And we Muslims have our fiqh regulation. It is our. And this is what you have to understand. This is the regulation for us, that when we kill any animal, be it domestic or wild, it is our law. We have to abide by our law, which is to mention the name of Allah and make sure that when we do kill our animal, that we pierce the skin and allow it to bleed out. Okay, this is our rule. That's not the rule for Christians. That was not the rule for the Jews. The Jews have their own rules. The Jews' rules is their animal must bleed through the jugular vein. That's a fiqh regulation for the Jews, not us. Okay? But our regulation is the animal must be killed using a sharp object which is capable of making it bleed by severing the blood vessels, even if the object is a rock or a piece of wood. And where's my evidence? Well, we have the hadith here where one of the companions said to the prophet, "O prophet of Allah, when we go hunting, we don't always have a knife with us or a bow and arrow with us. So we use a sharp rock or a piece of wood to penetrate the animal." The prophet said the objective for us Muslims, in other words, our law, our rule is to make the animal bleed and to mention the name of Allah when you do it. That's our rule. Does everybody understand that? So if you and I go hunting, if we use a gun or a knife or a bow and arrow or a spear, that's good, because these things will penetrate the skin and make the animal bleed. And before we shoot our gun, before we throw our knife, before we throw our spear, we say Bismillah. Does everybody understand that? We have to say Bismillah. We have to say Bismillah. We have to say Bismillah. This is our rule for us. Okay? And when it comes to the domestic animals that we slaughter, you don't have to hunt them. But when it comes to our domestic animals, it's easier to kill them. And what we do is, once again, we have to use a sharp instrument and go for a part of the body that will cause it to die the quickest and the easiest. And the best way to do that, any butcher would tell you, is to cut the windpipe or to cut the gullet or the two jugular veins. So it doesn't have to be the two jugular veins. It could be the windpipe. Anything that cuts your windpipe, that's it. You're done. Or the gullet. Does everybody understand? So that's how we slaughter the domesticated animals. Like a cow. We can hold the cow down and cut the windpipe, cut the gullet, or cut the jugular veins. But if I'm hunting a deer, I'm not going to run up to it and cut its windpipe. It's going to get away from me. I can use my gun and shoot. I can aim for its heart or aim for its head, any vital organ. Does everybody understand? That's it. But remember, I have to mention the name of Allah when I'm doing either one. Does everyone understand? So if you can't kill an animal by going for the windpipe or the jugular vein, then you aim, if you're for hunting outside, you aim for a vital organ to make it bleed, like the head, aim for the heart, or anything like that. And the animal doesn't have to die instantly either. If you're hunting, the animal, you may shoot the animal and get him in the side, and then the animal may die 3 days later. That animal is still lawful for us to eat. And we'll talk about that later, okay? And we have the hadith where the prophet, or one of the companions says, we were on a journey with the prophet and one of our camels ran away. As the people did not have a horse, a man shot an arrow and struck the animal and wounded it. And that's when the prophet says, some of these animals are like wild beasts. If any of them behave like this, then you treat it in this fashion. So here you can see there's more proof. A camel is a domestic animal. But you may not be in a situation where you can go for the gullet, go for the windpipe, or the jugular vein. So you can use your gun, your arrow, your spear, and just aim for the head or the heart or whatever and get it. And there's my evidence. Do you guys see that? This hadith is authentic. It's from Bukhari and Muslim. So no, it's not our fiqh regulation to go for the jugular vein. It's our fickle regulation that if you can do the windpipe or the gullet or jugular vein, alhamdulillah. But if you cannot, then go for any vital part of the animal that will cause the animal to bleed out. Does everybody understand? And always, before shooting or killing, mention the name of Allah. That is our obligation. So the Jews have to do the jugular vein, but not us. You guys see that? And again, when we're mentioning the name of Allah, it has to be Allah's name. We cannot, this is our fiqh regulation. For us Muslims, we cannot mention Ali. We cannot mention no other name but Allah. There are some Muslims out there, believe it or not, guys, they belong to some of those extreme groups. When they sacrifice, they mention the name of Ali. Astaghfirullah. We can't do that. There's another innovative group of people who call themselves Muslims. When they sacrifice, they mention the name of the Prophet Muhammad. No. Our fiqh regulation is to only mention the name of Allah. Does everybody understand that? Because again, Allah says, forbidden to you is that which has been dedicated to someone other than Allah, or that which has been sacrificed to idols. This is Surah Ma'idah. And the words are clear. The interpretation, the meaning is clear. If you read it in Arabic, it's the same thing. Forbidden to you is that which has been dedicated to anyone other than Allah, or has been sacrificed to an idol. So if you got a person calling himself a Muslim, killing their cow in the name of Ali, this is wrong. Or killing their cow in the name of the Prophet Muhammad, this is wrong. And this is our fiqh regulation. Sharp instrument, go for a vital organ, and mention Allah's name. Those are our rules. Okay? And a lot of people misinterpret the meaning of this verse here, where Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, do not eat of that over which the name of Allah has not been mentioned, because that's impiety. This regulation is for us. This verse does not apply to the people of the book. This is the verse of the Quran in which Allah is telling us it's for us. This is our rule. So we cannot eat of anything. We can't mention the name of Ali or Muhammad or anyone else when we are slaughtering. Okay? Now what about this? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if the blood is drained from the animal and the name of Allah has been mentioned over it, you may eat of it. Now some scholars are of the opinion that you can also just mention the name of Allah at the time of eating. And they base this on the hadith, whereas a group of pagans who used to be fire worshipers, they converted to Islam and they cooked some food and invited the Prophet and his companions to eat. And the food consisted of meat. And when they brought the meat to the Prophet and his companions, one of the companions said, we don't know if they mentioned the name of Allah over this meat or not, because they just converted. We don't know if this meat, had the name of one of their pagan gods mentioned or what. So what should we do? The Prophet told the companions, you mention the name of Allah and eat it, and that purifies it. And this is the opinion of the majority of the scholars. Even if you don't know if Allah's name had been mentioned over that meat or not, then you can mention his name and eat it. Does everybody understand that? And that's based on this authentic hadith here. So say, for example, you go to a farm and these people just converted to Islam. You don't know if they slaughtered the sheep they getting ready to serve you in the name of Allah, or if they didn't mention Allah's name. You say Bismillah and eat it. The same thing too, if this applies to the food from the other people of the book. Say a Christian invites you over to their house. Many of the scholars say, if you don't know, you say Bismillah and eat it too. Okay? We have to understand that there is wisdom behind everything that Allah enjoins and forbids us, including the manner in which we slaughter. A lot of people say, well, why is it that our way of slaughter is different? Why is it that we can't just do like some people do and just hit the animal in the head and beat it to death? Why do we have to have a sharp instrument? Why do we have to penetrate its skin? Why does the animal have to bleed out? Well, again, this is the wisdom of Allah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, sharpening the knife and in front of the animal, you will make the animal panic. Don't let the animal see you sharpening its knife, because animals know what's getting ready to happen to them. Remember, guys, the animals were created to service us. They were created to provide food, clothing, and shelter for us. As long as we are utilizing the animal for those reasons, the animal goes willingly. But you don't want to torture it. You don't want to let the animal know. I mean, every creation of Allah fears death, just like we're afraid of dying. So is an animal. So make sure that you don't sharpen your knife in front of him. But we use a sharp knife so that way the death is quick and easy. And it puts the animal at ease. And it makes the food, the meat, not be tough. If you got a tough meat there, that means that animal suffered. He tightened up his muscles resisting the death. Okay, so we use a sharp instrument to get it over with quick so as the animal doesn't, is not tortured, and the meat will be more tender and all of that. Remember, Allah has ordained kindness in everything. And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if killing is to be done, do it in the best manner. And when you slaughter, do it in the best manner by sharpening, making sure that the knife is sharpened before you kill the animal, and you put the animal at ease before killing it. Okay? And again, where's my proof? We have a hadith whereas the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw a man sharpening his knife in front of a sheep, and the Prophet scolded him. He said, do you intend to make it die 2 times? Why did you not sharpen your knife before you laid it down for its death? And also we have another hadith whereas Umar saw a man dragging a sheep by its leg to be slaughtered. And Umar told the man, woe unto you. Lead it to its death in a dignified manner. You don't grab an animal and just drag it, making it fight. Everything we do as Muslim, we want to do it with class and dignity, including slaughtering our animals. So again, the intent here is to be kind to the animal and spare that animal any unnecessary suffering. Okay? So we use a sharp instrument. We make sure we don't sharpen it in front of the animal. And we want to calm the animal down and lead it to its death with dignity, not abuse. So now, that brings us to the big question. Again, those are our rules. Those are our regulations as Muslims. What about the people of the book and their manner of slaughter? Well, Allah granted special permission to us Muslims when it comes to eating with the people of the book. And also Allah gave special permission to us to marry their women. And I find it amazing how there are so many Muslims today who read this verse of the Quran. And this verse of the Quran has not been abrogated. And this verse of the Quran is clear. We accept part of the verse, but you don't accept the other. And I find it amusing. And this is in Surah Ma'idah. It's clear. Allah says, and the interpretation of the meaning, today, whatever is good is made lawful to you. And the food of those who were given the books before you is permissible to you. And your food is permissible to them. Remember, Allah perfected our religion. Allah is telling us clearly here that we can eat the food of the Christians and the Jews the way they slaughter. Their fiqh regulations don't apply to us. As long as the food that we're eating is not sacrificial food, their food is lawful and ours is lawful to them. So since Allah did not make it haram, you and I don't have that authority either. Does everybody understand that? So you can eat the flesh of the animals they have killed or hunted, whether they mention the name of Allah or not. Does everybody understand that? And so what the scholars, the majority of scholars say is this: if you live in a Judeo-Christian society, their meat is lawful for you. America, Canada, Judeo-Christian societies. England, Judeo-Christian society. Australia, Judeo-Christian society. But China is not. Korea is not. These are pagan societies. India is not. So we can't eat their meat. Okay, you can't go to the grocery store and buy any meat in India or China because they are not people of the book. And it doesn't matter if the store in America is owned by an Amish man, a Jewish man, or a Muslim man. This is a Judeo-Christian society. So lawful for you, as Allah says here, is the food of the people of the book. And you guys know this is the part of the sentence people want to argue, but it's clear. The next part of the sentence is, and also lawful to you are their women. You don't see anybody arguing about marrying Christian Kafir women. If you can eat the Christian woman, why come you can't eat the food? It doesn't make sense. Subhanallah. We have to accept what Allah says. It's clear. If they are people of the book, if they are Christian, they are Jew, their food is lawful for us and ours is lawful for them. Now I'm going to teach you something else. And this hadith is authentic too, and this is going to shock a lot of you too. What about this? If a person does not hear from a Christian or a Jew that a name other than Allah, such as Jesus or a saint, was mentioned, again, the meat is lawful. If, however, the person says that a name other than Allah's has been mentioned, it is haram, as we all know that. If you know for a fact that somebody's name has been mentioned, then we don't eat it. But there's other scholars who hold the opinion that the food of the people of the book is lawful, whether you are aware of them mentioning a name or not. And they base it on this hadith here. Someone asked Abu Darda whether he could eat the flesh of a lamb that was killed for the church of St. George, which had been given to him. And Abu Darda said, "Oh Allah, forgive us. Are they not the people of the book whose food you made lawful for us and ours for them?" And he told the person to eat it. So now, you know, this is a Catholic church. And this person was asking him, well, these people killed this lamb for the church of St. George. Maybe they mentioned St. George's name when they killed it. And here you can see Abu Darda. Abu Darda is one of the original companions. He knows this religion better than you, better than me, better than anyone on this planet today. And when he was asked that question, I don't have to give you a fatwa from anybody else. This is one of the eminent companions. He's saying, even if you think that they may have killed the animal in the name of something other than Allah, you say Bismillah and you eat it, because they still are people of the book. You guys see that? This hadith is authentic. Okay? And by the way, when Allah speaks about people of the book's food, he's talking about the meat. He's not talking about alcohol. Alcohol is haram. Alcohol is not food. Alcohol is drink. You don't eat alcohol, you drink it. And we already know we cannot drink alcohol. It don't matter if a Muslim was selling it, a Christian, a Jew, a pagan, a horse, or a cat. Understand, food means meat. It doesn't mean drink, and it doesn't mean vegetable. We can eat the vegetables of a Chinese, but we cannot eat a Chinese people's meat. Does everybody understand it? It's all about understanding the meaning of simple words. And this is how we get messed up. So whenever you read a hadith speaking about the food, or you read the Quran, Allah is not talking about vegetables and drink. He already told us all vegetables are lawful. He already told us what's haram to drink. Food means meat. Does everybody understand that? You already know you can't drink no alcohol. There's a lot of Muslims who sell alcohol. You already know you can't drink it. There's Muslims who sell drugs. Do you guys know what the number one a source of income is for Afghanistan? It's opium. That's how Afghanistan gets its money, by selling opium. We already know we can't smoke opium. So this is talking about meat. Does everybody understand? Okay. Even Imam Malik was once asked about eating the flesh of animals that were slaughtered for Christian festivals and churches, just like Abu Darda was asked. And he said, I view it to be undesired, but not haram. He said, the reason why I say it's undesired is because I am afraid that it may have been dedicated to someone other than Allah. But I can't say it's not lawful, because perhaps with respect to the people of the book, remember Allah says that which has been dedicated to any other than Allah. That applies to only animals that they slaughter for the purpose of seeking the pleasure of their gods, such as Jesus or Mary. Okay, so that's his opinion. But again, he even said he can't say it's unlawful. Okay, because Allah says that their food And food means meat is lawful for us. That shows the wisdom of the companions and the Tabi'in, because they were afraid. They were afraid to use that word because they know that only Allah has the authority, and Allah is clear. He said, "Today I have made everything good lawful, and the food and women of the people of the book are lawful to you." You don't have a problem with a Muslim man marrying a Christian woman, but why do you have a problem with eating some a hamburger from McDonald's? I never understood the confusion with that. And when you marry a woman, you're sharing fluids with her. That's the same as eating. Subhanallah. I don't understand the confusion. So thus, guys, we can see that, again, we have to be careful with the word haram. The haram, or unlawful, has already been clearly defined by Allah, and he left nothing out. He did not forget anything. Okay? Every people have their own laws of regulations and rules, and we Muslims have ours. As Muslims, we have to mention the name of Allah before we kill. And we have to make sure we use a sharp instrument to do the slaughter, which will allow the animal to bleed out. We have to also make sure that the animal is not tortured. And also, Allah clearly says we can eat the meat of the people of the book and marry their women. And also, we learned today that even if we are not sure if the people of the book mention someone's name other than Allah, we can still eat the food. We simply say Bismillah and eat it. Just like the Prophet didn't know if those new converts had killed that meat before they converted in the name of their God, or if they said Bismillah. He told the companions, say Bismillah and eat it. That purifies it. And like Abu Darda said, Subhanallah, Allah speaks the truth. Allah said their food is lawful. As long as they are a people of the book, you don't sit there trying to rationalize it. Say Bismillah and eat it. And like Imam Malik said, we'd be crazy to try to make something unlawful that Allah didn't make unlawful. You may not desire it, or you may not prefer to do it, but you don't have the authority to make it haram to do what Allah says. Now, finally, guys, before we end, I would like to stress this. It's best, and I hope you guys know, it's best to try to eat meat that is killed by a Muslim, okay? If you're able to, because Allah, and I'm going to tell you another example as to the wisdom of Allah. Let me make my screen big. I'm going to show you guys, or remind you guys how we have to be careful with our opinions. Remember, guys, Allah knows his creation better than we know ourselves. Having a Muslim-owned meat store, a lot of us don't have it. Where I live in Appalachia. I am 8 miles from Kentucky. There is no Muslim-owned meat store nowhere near me. There's Amish people where I live, and there are Appalachians. I live in the country. You can see cows and chickens and pigs and stuff all up and down the freeway where I live. I live in the farms, the farmland of Ohio. If I wanted to get some meat from a Muslim-owned store, I'd have to drive 2 hours away from where I live to do that. And I'm not able to do that. So when I go to the store, I buy my meat from right there, okay? Because it's lawful, number one. But if there were an Islamic meat store here where I live, I would patronize it first. You understand? But I don't have an Islamic meat store near me. I don't even have a Jewish meat store near me. All I have is Kroger's, and Kroger's is Christian owned. So Allah knows the condition of the people, and Allah knows his creation. And there's a lot of other people that don't live nowhere near any Muslim-owned meat store. But you see the hikmah, the wisdom of Allah, the mercy of Allah. You don't have to go hungry. You don't have to be like when you look at TV and you see the people, some of the people living in India. And this makes me so sad. You see children on the street dying of hunger, begging for, and the cows are walking by. But because they worship the cows, they won't kill the cow to feed the children. They got their people starving to death while the cows walk by. Allah, that's not the laws of Allah. Allah made the food, meaning the meat of the people of the book, lawful for you. And alhamdulillah, because a person like me who lives nowhere near a mosque, I mean, even a mosque ain't near me, or anything else, I'm the only Muslim in this county, this little Appalachian county I live in. Okay, even a person like me, I can go to the grocery store and alhamdulillah do my shopping and buy meat so I can eat. I don't have to be out in the street begging for money and food because can somebody find a Muslim-owned meat store for me? Do you guys see the wisdom of Allah? Allah definitely knows what's best for us, guys. So again, you know, this is, and again, all the hadiths that I shared with you are authentic, you know, and if people don't want to accept them, that's on you. But the bottom line, if you have a meat store owned by a Christian, a meat store owned by a Jew, and a meat store owned by a Muslim, which one can you eat from? All three. All three are lawful. But of course, I would pay my money to the Muslim store because it's best, because it's killed following our fiqh regulations. Okay? But if I decide to go to that Jewish store, that Christian store, I'm not committing a sin either. And these are the proofs from the companions. And that's the beauty of Islam, guys. If we learn Islam with the understanding of those companions like Abu Darda, like Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas was the one that narrated the one about the pagans who had just converted to Islam. If we had their understanding of this religion, then Islam wouldn't seem to be so oppressive to us. Maybe more women would wear hijabs without thinking it's oppressive to do so. Maybe more men would provide and maintain their families and take care of their wives and children and without thinking it's oppressive. We need to get back to Islam in its truthfulness, based on the Quran, the authentic hadiths, with that understanding of the companions, and you see, oh, how beautiful this way of life is. It's so easy to be a Muslim. It's so easy. Don't allow others to make it hard for you due to their misunderstanding of the Quran. Because if they learn these hadiths like I just put up here, there is no misunderstanding. And again, no one can out-trump Abu Darda. No one that you know can out-trump Ibn Abbas. No one on this planet today. Okay? All right. On that note, we'll stop right here. If you guys have any questions or comments, inshallah, you can type them on the screen. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Again, questions.